Hello and welcome everyone to yet another edition of Digital Adda. So what is Digital Adda? Digital Adda is basically every month NASSCOM Sector Skills Council hosts virtual skilling specific roundtable knowledge sharing sessions, which is a platform for thought leaders to come together and interact and talk about latest trends and future possibilities affecting all sectors. So without further ado, let me hand it over to Kirti Seth, who will be moderating today's session. It'll be a 1-hour session, 45 minutes of conversation, and then we have kept some time to answer your questions, to take your questions. So please, let's go, Kirti. It's all over to you.
Thanks, Kamna, and welcome everybody. Abhilasha, Indrani, Choudhury, so lovely to have you here. As the world looks towards India during our G20 presidency, there has been a clear acknowledgement of India's strengths, whether it's our massive education system, our 43% women in STEM, a tech superpower, a young population. There's a lot to be proud of, and it's nice to hear everyone acknowledging that too. But we have ambitions of our own. We want to be a $1 trillion digital economy by 2026. Every company is becoming a technology company and transforming the way they work for the digital future that is fast becoming the digital present. A critical success factor, though, in all this is going to be our people. Do we have the right skill set to take advantage of this demographic strength that we have? The journey to make each and every citizen of India digitally literate or digitally fluent is going to be a tough one. But we have embarked upon it to aim higher, to do better, and to move faster. What's it going to take? Is it going to take policy changes? Is it going to take changes in the way industry works with its ecosystem? Is it going to take academia changing gear? Is it going to mean collaboration across stakeholders in a different way? What's it going to take to make India a digital superpower? So to discuss all this, I have a great panel, a group of people with a diverse skill set, if I can say, representative of the skilling ecosystem with Abhilasha, who is CEO of the Electronic Sector Skills Council, representative of industry with Indrani, who's leading the learning initiative at Microsoft, and Madhuri, who actually represents, I would say, society at large, since she writes about skilling from an outsider's perspective. So welcome everyone, and I'll start by asking my first question to Abhilasha, asking her, Abhilasha, how are you seeing the skills landscape evolve? Are employer expectations changing? What's going on?
Thank you so much, Kirti, first of all, for having me on this Digital Adda. And definitely, the way we started skilling in India back in 1950s through industrial training institutes, the ITIs, and then in 2007, when modular employability skill was launched by Government of India, the focus was more on the candidates who were not coming to mainstream. I mean, the focus was on those who were dropping out from the school. So hence the courses were designed accordingly. But now after NEP 2020, the approach is more inclusive, I'll call, where our target group is from the school, diploma, bachelor's engineering, master's in technology, even PhD students also. So like recently, we have got a qualification even on nanoelectronics with IIT Bombay and IIC Bangalore. And definitely, employers' expectations are changing on an exponential growth. They expect candidates need to be upskilled on their foundational level of education, which can be their diploma or graduation degree. Hence, the importance of SSC short duration upskilling courses with the employability skill quotient is actually increasing. And the way the futuristic skills are being required at the time of employment is actually changing the skilling landscape also. So I think AI, ML, IoT, embedded system, VLSI design, these have become very, very integral part of any job, let it be technical or non-technical. And I say the announcement of National Credit Framework and ABC, the Academic Bank of Credit, they have given a lot of skills, respect to skills, and we are seeing an exponential growth for the same. So definitely the employers' expectations are changing, and we are aligning our offerings as per their requirements.
Well, that's good to hear, because that's one question that gets asked quite often, is NEP having an impact? And that gets asked actually outside of the skilling ecosystem, because we are living and breathing it. but it's not really so obvious to people out there. So to hear you say that it is having an impact is absolutely good, wonderful to hear. I'm going to actually move to Indrani, because you are not only an employer, but you are also doing a lot of work in the skilling space. Our ambition as NASSCOM, in fact, why NASSCOM, I would say, for the skilling ecosystem, is to make India the digital talent hub for the world. Basic digital fluency for all students. You've participated with NASSCOM and several state governments in running these skill development programs, along with a lot of what you do. So what do you think works well when you want to achieve skills at scale in these future skills in the large numbers that India needs?
Sure. Thank you, Kirti, for having me here at Digital Adda. And I guess this is a very close topic to me personally, because Microsoft's mission is very much like, it's my own work mission. It's about empowering every person and organization on the planet to achieve more. And this, we believe that technology is actually an enabler to create that social and economic transformation. Right. So we partnered with NASSCOM, with several state governments on landing some of mega skilling transformation projects. For example, we did the AI, FutureSkills AI, where we skilled around 1 million students. And now we have the internship program, Future Ready Internship, where again, we are providing internship opportunities to more than 1.5 lakh students on different emerging technologies. Now, I think from my experience, there are 4 R's, the ingredients that actually make any program successful in terms of outreach and impact. 1, the program has to be relevant. It needs to be relevant from an industry perspective, and even from a student's, the NEP alignment, for example, what we do, it should be aligned to what the industry needs. So that's what we first do.
Just a moment, Indrani. Abhilasha, can I ask you to go on mute? I think there's an echo coming in Indrani's thing. Go ahead, Indrani.
Okay, so coming back to the first is relevant, making the curriculum very relevant such that it can fulfill the current and the future roles that are in the market, right? So therefore, we have a lot of alignment with NEP 2020, align it with national occupational standards to just ensure that whatever we are landing, it will help the individual to achieve more. The second one is, of course, reach. And no individual or an organization can actually take it or democratize the skilling initiative until and unless there is a solid ecosystem partnership. And that's why we leverage stakeholders like NASSCOM, industry, academia, all together, so that we can actually reach the last mile and democratize the skilling to the underprivileged also. So second R. The third R is rigor, because any program would need the rigor of assessment. So does this learner actually come up with the right skills that are required? And we do that very fairly and transparently through, project assignments, quizzes, certifications which are proctored. All of that is, of course, the rigor part. And fourth is, of course, retention, because you want the learners. Everything is around learner. It's a learner-centric organization. So the students should retain the learnings. It should be adaptive. It should be personalized. We use a lot of blended of offline, online perspective. We provide mentoring and career coaching to make sure at the end, it's a 360-degree, development of the end audience. So those 4 have helped us, and we are committed from Microsoft to continue landing impactful skilling initiative in partnership with the ecosystem.
Thanks for that. And I think that's something that we are also taking away when we work with partners like you to say, what are we learning from these programs? This ecosystem approach, I would say ecosystem and process, because you're starting at one end and having a clear journey towards the end. Where is it going? And controlling each point in that chain. I think that is also something that has really helped to make sure that leakage stops and the outcomes are visible. That whole link between skills and employability, I think, is something that the program that you run of Future Ready Talent has been really interesting. And Madhuri, you've heard both Abhilasha and Indrani mention the new education policy. Maybe that's because we're all totally into it. but you're sitting on the outside a little bit. What do you think? Is the NEP actually having an impact? What's your take?
First, thank you, Kirti, Sridevi, Kamya, and the team at NASSCOM for inviting me. And I'm so glad to be a part of this panel. And also the speakers before me have, as you have rightly pointed out, the catalyzing which has happened with NEP 2020. So Kirti, I would say at the policy level, it's a great beginning. And as we know that any policy to get implemented faces a lot of resistance, hurdles, and so on and so forth, which is actually positive. But then, it's like a resistance to change. The policy is recommending many changes, but I would say, yes, there has been a certain impact in terms of catalyzing new thought, making people think of new options from few perspectives. So one of them, I would say, is the notion of skilling is not just a small thing like a short-term training or something which is meant for an underprivileged or a socially deprived. With the NEP 2020, the image of skilling is going to be very different because we are talking about mainstreaming vocational or work integrated education into the larger narrative of the academic, academic courses. So this, I think, is a very big impact, and it is already into the discourse, it's already into the discussions. Since I have also participated in many of these discussions, I see a lot of positive vibes and acceptance. Now, the challenge for us, I would say, to implement all this is, from that impact of at the idea level to actual implementation. I see that the state governments are also, few of them like Karnataka, Maharashtra, they're taking lead and trying to see how it can be implemented. So as we know, any policy cannot be just implemented per se, right? We pick up things which are relevant, which are easily implementable, perhaps. So we go step by step. So I think it has been quite a big impact in terms of, as I said, shifting the narrative from the notion of a skill as a very small thing, which is meant for a certain segment, to a notion of education which is work integrated and meant for all. It is meant for everybody. It is for every student. So that's where I think we are now talking about courses which are, integrated with digital platforms, where digital topics have become very important. We are talking about a lot of digital skills, like it could be AI, it could be AR, VR, it could be robotics. All this is also connected with the new policy, where it is laying emphasis on the digital side of it, digital learning, technology skills, because we know every enterprise is becoming a digital enterprise, and new kind of world of work is also going to be different. So that's what
I think that's actually such a beautiful thing that you said about, changing the image of skilling or mainstreaming skilling, because when Abhilasha mentioned that how things actually began in the skilling ecosystem and where it's evolving, I think that says a lot about the way India is changing too. And the NEP definitely is having an impact, but it's not all roses and flowers, Abhilasha. Life is a little tough when you're in the trenches, and I think you're very much in the trenches. So what are the challenges in your sector that act as roadblocks to do all these wonderful things that we can do, we are doing in small measures, but what are the roadblocks that you face in just expanding what you're doing tenfold?
I think it's a very good question, because everybody asks you to speak about the good things what are happening around. So I really appreciate when you're talking about the roadblocks also. And definitely, as we all understand, in any professional journey, either for a company also, there are some challenges what we need to face. And same is the case with the skill landscape also, if we talk about today. When we talk about the electronic sector, so it covers electronic system design and manufacturing. So first of all, it is a huge sector, because from consumer electronics to networking to solar to LED, from automation to drones to electric vehicles, nowadays nothing works without electronics. So two aspects are there for particularly for our sector. One is manufacturing, and another is installation, after sales services, repair and maintenance of all these equipments. And this is a huge place where the people get employed. And after Make in India, Atmanirbhar Bharat initiatives were announced, schemes like production linked incentive, PLI schemes, specs, which are announced by government, then semiconductor mission, design linked initiatives to push manufacturing in India. The challenge is that skilling in these areas require a lot of capex in terms of the labs as well as the skilled trainers. Whereas in all our government schemes, we work on common cost norms. So most of the people, I mean, I can say that we do not differentiate that if we are training on repairing a computer or a mobile phone or a microwave, or we are treating it same as if we are manufacturing an electronic product, and even in that case, semiconductors also, where definitely the cost is higher. And we do understand that people, when they are into the skilling training, so they look for their return on investments also. So actually at the end, what I mean, we end up with training more people for the service industry rather than for manufacturing. So I think it's a major roadblock or a major challenge for us in the skilling ecosystem. But now, I mean, we have started finding out that how to overcome this challenge. So one of the way how we are overcoming is there's a MeitY's capacity development scheme, ESDM, which works on a place and train model. So we have started making industries only like our partners. So industries like Daikin, Godrej, Havells, LG, and companies like Yazaki, who's into the wiring harness for automobiles. So we are making them as our partners, and the training is happening in their own establishments. So that ways, I think the capex requirement which is there, we can overcome that. But we'll not be able to take it, or we'll not be able to grow it, because they also have their own challenges. They'll be able to provide us a specific line of manufacturing line for a shorter duration of time. But yes, this is a major roadblock, and I have pushed across this point to various forums also, that we have to treat in common cost norm also the service as well as the manufacturing, or in the case where the skills levels are different, where the investment for giving that particular skill course is different, we cannot treat them in the same weightage. So I think that is one major roadblock what we are facing specifically for our sector.
So thanks, and I think the point that you're making, that if you want to promote a certain priority in the country, then you have to treat that priority again as an ecosystem, I would say. I mean, there are multiple elements that have to go into make it succeed. So you can't have people trained on on modernized machines and robotics. And today everything is robotic enabled. You have autonomous vehicles, you have all that happening. How do you train people in that if you don't have those machines and you don't have the funds to create that? Great point. And then the point also on these new technologies, the trainers, I mean, industry doesn't have people. So where are we going to get the trainers from? And how are you going to pay them to do what you need to do? So I think that's a point. I know you and I have been part of some conversations where this has started getting discussed. So I'm hoping that it, moves up the ladder and goes from our mouths to the powers that be ears. That would be great. But great point. Thanks for bringing that up. And Indrani, I think that leads me to ask you, when you as Microsoft are driving such initiatives at scale, there is a lot of investment that Microsoft is also making, and I'm using Microsoft here because you belong to that company. But I think this goes for all companies that are driving scaling initiatives. Yours is not the only one. There are multiple companies in the tech sector who are doing that. Abhilasha just mentioned there are people doing it in the electronic sector too. So what are you thinking when you are supporting these skilling initiatives and funding these skilling initiatives? And an attached question to that is enough happening to spread this tech skilling to non-techies or non-engineers? Because if every company is going to become a technology company, not everyone is going to be an engineer. So that scale at which you are operating also has to change if we're going to include so many, pretty much everybody into it. So how are you thinking about this?
So again, a question very close to me. And I think I can start with my own personal journey here, because I am a non-tech, non-STEM person leading the technology skilling charter for the country, right? So it is about not that you need to be in the STEM, it is about every person in the non-STEM has to embrace the foundational tech skills, because technology is not now only for the techies. You need it for everyone to succeed and thrive in this digital economy. And technology benefit when you learn technology, it can benefit the non-STEM people equally, because first, it will increase the employability, job satisfaction, income of people, because if you open it saying that every company is an IT company, and all companies in some shape and form, different levels of maturity, have already adopted technology for the digital transformation. So the demand for, even advanced or fundamentals level skills are already there. And if one is not technology, enabled, then will not find it easy for the person to get in, or even when you get in, how to move up the ladder. That's one. And also even within the organization, our non-STEM people can also look at roles such as analytics. If you're from economies or statistics, you have analytics, you can be in the web designing, you can be in the marketing, digital marketing. Again, all of these are infused with technology. So it opens more doors. So we are going ahead and promoting all our courses, democratizing it to the non-STEM equally, as we are doing it for the engineering students. The second one is, of course, technology is also so infused, it's so easy right now that if people get in, there is low code, no code kind of technology, which people need not be intimidated by. Right now, the buzz here is all about generative AI, right? And generative AI is actually helping you build content, which is already there. It just asks you feedback, it asks suggestions and alternates, and you can really have, find new possibilities. Just as an example, if you're an author, you want to write and you want to have suggestions on some plot, some, nice dialogues, etc., you could ask ChatGPT and they would give you, and your productivity will also increase, your creativity can be done because you can just use technology in the non-IT space. And third, very close to me, is we are looking at also ensuring that the gender inequality is sometimes reduced. And if we go to the non-STEM or anybody, I think the platform of digital skilling just empowers and democratizes, brings the women and girls from tier 2, tier 3 city, we go to the underprivileged. We want that to happen. We want people to get the opportunity to amplify the voices, have collective movements, get access to digital healthcare, etc. So I think all of this is only possible if everyone starts embracing technology in steps. You need not go for the, masters in analytics, but even the fundamentals help.
Yeah, thanks for that. And, we were having this conversation as we were having before this session started. And we asked, and Madhuri was confessing how she needs to start using ChatGPT to doing the writing work that she does. And we were all admitting that we're using it to help us do the work that we need to do. So as a productivity tool, as an augmentation to what we do, it's so far so good. Yes, lots of questions and concerns, but that's a topic for another day. So Madhuri, I think you're a little bit on your view on generative AI and using all these technology tools and your personal journey. It'd be great to hear you share, because I'm sure there's so many people like you, and what are you going to do about it?
About AI, generative AI. Yeah, as you just mentioned already, I think it's a great tool to use to amplify the pace at which we work, and also, to shorten, like productivity is the right word, which Indrani just said. So I think we, instead of putting it aside as on ethical reasons, see, for us, this thing is ethical, okay? Because when we produce the content and when we do our work, it's all like we say we are original, we do so much of hard work. But I think time has come for us to look at tools like how Google search, for example, right? Earlier, it's become a part of us now. So I think going forward, these tools also will become a part of us. It's just that it's going a few steps ahead and helping us to be more productive. And I would say a part of the monotonous probably work or automated type of a work will be taken care, but ultimately human intelligence reigns supreme. So I think the decision-making part is most important. And since I am from the skilling ecosystem, I would say the type of skills that are needed to handle these tools would be the things perhaps which NASSCOM Future Skills will have to integrate, with all your other digital skills like on FutureSkills Prime and other portals, because I think that assumes a lot of importance then.
Yeah, so for all those who are watching, we do have a channel devoted to generative AI. So if you've never heard of ChatGPT or don't know what is prompt engineering or don't know how to use these tools, please log on. These pathways are absolutely free. They're 30-40 minutes long, not a big effort, but I love the analogy that you used of Google search. Today, you don't even think about it. You're sitting with someone having a conversation, you don't know an answer, you say just Google it. So I think this is also another tool like that. It can just help you get along much faster in what you're doing. Abhilasha, the point that Madhuri made about it being a tool that needs to be taught to everybody, you're working in an industry which is very hardware and very on the ground manufacturing. Let's not talk so much about the services, but that's a little intuitive to understand how people would use tools like that. But do you see these kind of tools becoming mainstream in the actually on the ground manufacturing, working with your hands kind of jobs and industries?
Yes. I mean, if in early 2000s when I visited the manufacturing plants, and now from last 5 years after 2015, if I visit those plants, it is entirely changed. So it is not the same kind of machines which are running there. It is more automated. The more machines and less humans which we see around, more cleaner spaces. We saw a lot of robots coming and doing the works. Recently visited Daikin last year, and I could see that a lot of girls, what we see on the shop floors, which is different. Even companies like Foxconn, Pegatron, Wistron also, and we say that 40% of the smartphones, Apple smartphones, are being manufactured in India. On their shop floors where 12 to 15,000 people are working, 80% of them are women, and they are able to handle these machines. So definitely industry 4.0 and the automation which has come to manufacturing is playing a very big role. So we have a lot of courses also, which engineering student also do level 5, 6, 7 courses like IoT, embedded systems, then VLSI design engineers, IoT hardware stack analyst also. So definitely, futuristic job roles will be touching on all the aspects, not only services, but definitely in manufacturing also. So the way we manufacture now, technology has completely changed it. And in the coming times, it will be more advanced. Now we have started talking about industry 5.0. So 4.0 said that the robots will be replacing human beings. But 5.0 very clearly says that the humans will be working along with robots. So it is like the repetitive jobs will be done by robots, and the human intelligence will definitely be part of it. So I think there's a very good sync what we see in the coming days for these technologies. So artificial intelligence and human intelligence, you can say, they'll be in more sync in the coming days for sure, for manufacturing also.
So that was a really nice perspective on how we're seeing more women in the manufacturing space. Indrani, this is a topic that is close to your heart. So the fact that workplaces are becoming cleaner, they're becoming more, I suppose, safer, and it's just an environment that women are feeling more and more comfortable going into. This is actually a great point, Abhilasha. I never thought about it that way. So you see pictures of all these futuristic factories, and then you suddenly realize, it takes me back to the days when BPM had just come into India, and you suddenly have these beautiful offices and large spaces and nice, light and women being taken care of, and we saw an explosion. I am convinced that that is what led to this number that we see of STEM participation in our workforce. So the same happening in manufacturing now. It's great to hear. Indrani, any thoughts on that?
No, I really think that, with all the motions by different companies, and it's not only Microsoft, but everybody is joining hands. It's again bringing back to the ecosystem that we are making sure that we're democratizing and including women in this entire, mission and initiative. And again, more and more, I think the generative AI as we use it, and for those who have not done yet the generative AI course at FutureSkills Prime, just bringing everybody to the same page. It's actually a technology that can create content from training data, such as, text, audio, coding, codes that are available, or images, and generate something new. So if you use the generative AI model, it can help you either do, it can increase the creativity or augment the creativity. It can augment productivity, and it can also augment your own personal learning. So everybody, women or underprivileged or the ones who are privileged, will gain. And I think every sector, it's not only manufacturing, every sector is supposed to, get 2x or 3x of return from these technologies. So I think, Dr. Abhilasha, I love the way that you said that we will work with the technology, which is AI, and not, and we will not let AI control everything. We will be working together with the technology to make sure that errors are, even if they are made, we can fix it on the go and not as reactive measure.
Super. So Madhuri, I'm going to ask you, we're talking about a lot of skills and we're talking about these technology skills, but we in the skilling ecosystem have been working for a long time, and we know that we work in, it's quite a defined system, and there's a lot of flexibility that is coming in today's world, which really is not, right now is not really there in our skilling ecosystem. But yet there have been some examples, and there have been a lot of successes also in it. We know about it, but I wanted to know from you that as you look at it, what do you think are some examples of government-driven skill development schemes that have really worked well? And what, in your opinion, made them successful?
Thanks for asking this. And it's not a very easy question to answer. Let me admit that before I attempt it. That's because the landscape is so complex, and I would not look at it directly as a success element here. Perhaps Dr. Abhilasha also might add to this, because she's coming from the Sector Skill Council. I'll have to just elaborate a little bit here why I'm saying this, especially over the last 10 years that we have been following closely, and NSN being 8 years old now, we have been following so closely all the schemes, the programs and all that. Many programs and schemes came up for a different set of reason and a different goal, like short-term training, PMKVY, or recognition of prior learning through PMKVY was meant for a certain goal. Okay, there was a goal like placement linked skilling program. Then parallelly, we saw programs like DDU-GKY, which are again short term. I'm only mentioning the government programs because you mentioned the government programs. So there is this DDU-GKY, which is for the rural youth. Okay, that's again placement linked. And then parallelly, we saw the degree level BWalk programs being from the government, from the Ministry of Education. Some things came up prior to the coming together of these two ministries, now that they work very closely. And some of them happened before, as we know, when it was just MSDE. Then, of course, there is apprenticeship program from the government, which is the NAPS, National Apprenticeship program. And then, when I look at it, the landscape is like short term, long term, and of course, all this is preceded by the ITIs, the CTS. I would say the craftsman training scheme, again from the government, both offered privately and through government ITIs. So if I look at the entire landscape, for me, it is difficult to use one word and say that this was 80% success or this was 70% success. But for me, slightly different. I would say over the last 7 decades, especially over the last 15 years or so, we have achieved a lot. And this is success for me. The success here is about creating awareness that it is not just academics that we need to have in our system. It is degrees, of course, important, but a degree alone will not help. So that is success for me. And if people, like say through PMKVY or any government program, have got into any jobs or sustainable kind of a livelihood, that's again success. the number may not be as it was targeted. Okay, that probably, I don't want to go into, that's a totally different area, but still the awareness which got created through such programs is quite a success in the advocacy, in awareness, in telling people, hey, look, it's not just engineering and medicine or this or that exists. There is something called work integrated education, which might be helpful if you are looking for a job quickly after you do your 10th or 12th or degree or any of these. So I think the way I look at it is like this. And of course, there are schemes like apprenticeship, which I think it's a wonderful program from the government to help the industry build their talent pool. But the newness of it is yet to get accepted by all the stakeholders, as we know. It's quite a new concept for many people to understand. So incentivizing it and getting industry acceptance, creating success stories, telling people, so all this is happening. So there is a certain rate of success there. Just to quote the recent newspaper reports and the team lead study which was conducted, I believe there is a positive growth in apprenticeship adoption, which is increased by 2% or so, and also the stipends. So this is a small success. So for me, instead of a big success, I would say we have made a mark in some ways in all these verticals which are coming from the government. But just to close this part, I think one point which I think we learn from here is that not every skill development program has to be tied up with a long-term placement or anything. Sometimes that becomes a hurdle, especially when the placement is happening in the informal sector. So there are certain learnings also which are there, so I might reserve it for another occasion. But I think, yes, to some extent, yeah, there has been relatively successful. There are things which we have learned, but overall, there is a lot of positive impact. Yeah.
No, I really appreciate you saying that, that yes, at one level, you do have metrics and you do have targets, and it may seem that you didn't meet them or some was good, some was bad. But I think this whole idea of spreading the awareness, and the first thing that you said when we started this conversation about changing the image of skill building and mainstreaming skills, I think that is what is happening now. And it needed this time, it needed this journey to get there. So we need to view it with a different lens. So I really appreciate that perspective. I told the viewers that we're going to get different perspectives, and I really like this one. So thanks for that. And Abhilasha, would you like to just weigh in here, because this is a world you live in very closely. What do you think of what Madhuri is saying?
Yes, I also definitely agree, because the way it has started, as I gave in my initial comments also. So now I think we all are working, or let it be the sector skill councils or the various stakeholders, MSD, NSDC or NCVT. I think everybody is working towards one agenda, and that is to give respect to skills. So students who are going ahead with their regular degree programs, and if we have courses for BWOC also, now after NEP, I'll again come back to NEP. See, the degree embedded apprenticeship courses have started for 3 years. Just to give you an example, after NEP 2020, UGC has also allowed that. So one of the program, let's say in the Christ University, Bangalore, I've closely seen that program. So they run a program which is BBA Decision Science for 3 years. And it is in collaboration with the MU Sigma for data science. So the first semester students remain in college, studies their complete 6 subjects. From second semester, they go to the office in Whitefield, Bangalore, and Monday to Wednesday they are in office. They have 3 project subjects for data science, and then Thursday, Friday, Saturday they are again in college. So UGC has allowed that 3 courses can be taught in the office, more in a form of a project, and 3 theory subjects can be taught in the college in that way. So once a student is coming out after 3 years, so he's having 2.5 years of industry experience, you can say, because in the last year also they put them on their team floors also, and they actually initially they start working on the simulated environment, and then they start actually working on the environment, and they work as apprentices. So when we are talking about apprentices, it is not only for the manufacturing, it is at the time of studies also, in the service and IT industry also, they can join as apprentices. An apprenticeship scheme is like more than 30 employees. If any company is having, they can employ 2% of the apprentices, and they can pay them stipend also, and government also gives them back this thing. So I think these kind of courses, if will come up with help of industry, so it will definitely give respective skills, and people will see that yes, more advanced courses are also being offered under this various government schemes also nowadays.
So lots of courses, lots of skilling programs. There's a lot going on, and I think generally we can agree that there's good stuff happening on the skilling ecosystem. If it's being acknowledged by the world, something nice is happening, and there is an impact going on. That's great. But one of the things that we come across in the IT sector is that people have the technical skills. Maybe they can even showcase their skills. But the one skill that is going to become really crucial in the time, especially now with things like ChatGPT, where is doing a lot of stuff, where you have to actually put in your prompt, and then of course it can generate a lot of work. So is English going to be the only skill that is going to be needed very soon, because ChatGPT is writing the code, ChatGPT is writing the blog, ChatGPT is writing your report paper. But that's one thing that we struggle at in India, where more people get rejected because of their communication skills than for their technical skills. So Indrani, a question to you: is English going to be the only skill that we need to focus on?
I actually beg to differ here. English, I know it is widely spoken and widely respected language, but at the same time, there is enough and more merit in being multilingual. Right? I'm not even talking about the multiple languages within India, but even you could pick up a language like Chinese, Spanish, Arabic, because I think as a language itself, you have a world's view, you have cognitive ability, you can understand the cultural differences. So it changes you. So right now, today, ChatGPT is in the English language that you prompted, but it's a language, you can also use different languages. It's a matter of time. There will be other languages that it will accept, so you can use it and converse with it in Hindi, Tamil, or any other dialect also. It's just, we have to wait for that time. And having said that, it is not only the language skills. We talked about technology, why it is important for STEM and non-STEM. We're talking about language, but then there are many other skills that one needs to constantly look at developing, which is more on problem solving, communication, collaboration, because even if you have these technology, like let's say we are using ChatGPT or a co-pilot of GitHub to code for you. Much of the coding is done. The basic coding is done, but then you have to troubleshoot, right? The coding, because intelligent copy pasting is required. You want to build a solution. So you need to have that problem solving ability. You need to have the design thinking ability. So nobody can take those away from, however much technology advances, because you need to use the technology in an intelligent way, create more IPs, which means you have to be innovative, you need to be creative, you need to be able to sell that solution to different areas. So use technology as an enabler, but not the only stuff. And English is certainly not the only language.
Really important to hear you say that, because I think that there is this whole impression getting created that now you don't really need to learn anything, because generative AI is going to give you all the answers. But I think there's no running away from your fundamentals. There's no running away from understanding what your subject is. There's no running away from the core of technology. In fact, I think, again, that whole point of augmentation and enhancer to your ability is the way to look at it, and not get lazy and say, this is going to do it for me. So I think with that, I'm just going to go over to some of the questions that we have on the chat. So one of the ones, very important one, I would say, is how do we encourage lifelong learning and continuous skill development amongst employees in a rapidly evolving job market? We hear constantly, we hear people saying that the only skill you need to know today is the skill to learn, because things are changing so fast that you have to be able to learn. But how do you do that? I'll ask Indrani first and then take it to Abhilasha.
Absolutely. I'm so sorry. I missed my window. Okay. So I think it's a culture. To be lifelong learners within an organization, you need to really build that culture of safe learning. We ourselves have been a know-it-all company to a learn-it-all company. You know, earlier we used to just dictate that you need to have A, B, C as your required skilling, and this is your recommended skilling. We changed that culture thoroughly. We are saying you need to go from A to B, and as an individual, the culture of knowing more, asking, failing, be stupid to ask questions. It's about collaborative learning, right? So we use a lot of technology again, and we have Viva Learning. Like if I'm getting stuck at a particular time, I can just ask for the relevant information from my peers, from my experts, and people just lean in to help each other. So I think one of the biggest requirement, because resources you will get from FutureSkills Prime, you will get on, MS Learn, everything, but it is the culture that needs to be there to make people recognize those people who are taking those growth mindset steps and leaning forward to learn themselves. You need to unlearn to learn, and also encouraging others, being the brand ambassadors to pull others to also have that same mindset.
Thanks a lot. Abhilasha, how do you encourage lifelong learning? And there's an associated question which I will add to that, is that, yes, one is to encourage the continuous skill development, but then the challenges on retraining and upskilling an existing workforce, how do you deal with that?
I think I'll come back to you only for NASSCOM for this. Just like earlier, it was started with Sodexo cards, and then on birthdays and anniversaries, we give them either the Amazon coupon or a Shopper Stock coupon. So I'll request FutureSkills to give us some coupons for our employees, and on their birthdays, anniversary, or their small achievements in office with a certificate, if we can give them those skill cards where they can log into FutureSkills and do one of the course. I think then only it become a regular exercise, and it can be a lifelong learning, because otherwise it becomes difficult sometimes in the regular professional life that you don't think, okay, I have to upskill myself because I'm having a cushy job, the life is okay. So I think this skill coupons you must start for FutureSkills. That is one for lifelong learning. And another question, if you can repeat again. So
challenges on retraining, because people are not
okay.
open. And I think that's what you're referring to, that people, and my counter would also be that I'll give you the coupons, but will you ensure that they do the courses and complete them?
Because I'll be putting one more appreciations once they submit the certificate to us.
This is ecosystem collaboration.
Yes, and even at the time of year-end appraisal, if somebody has got more than 5 coupons, maybe we give them a 5 days outstation stay with their family, because they have given those 5 days for their own upgradation or skilling. So maybe something we can suggest to our human resources department.
Think out of the box. I completely love that. And I think to the person who's asking this question about the challenges in retraining, I think this is the biggest one, where you can take a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. So
can I also put in here?
Yes.
We have deployed the influencer concept, because you can, again, it's about the ecosystem. If you have influencers and actually motivate them to go and spread that growth mindset in others, it will have a ripple effect and maybe faster.
I totally agree, and we've seen the impact of influencers, but I think the what we aim for and what we get is very different. And the message I wanted to give from my side is really that today there is no dearth of resources. On this call, we've talked of so many. So there is absolutely no excuse to say, I don't know what to learn, or I don't know where to go to learn. If nothing else, you can go to YouTube and learn. I, for one, have been learning prompt engineering from YouTube. It's fantastic. Every day, 30 minutes, you learn something new. So there's nothing to stop you from learning. So you have to take responsibility for your own development and for your own
upskilling yourself.
Responsibility to stay relevant. You have to stay relevant because the world is changing. If you don't take ownership, then tomorrow, if you hear those horrible headlines in the newspapers, you can't really blame someone else. The other data point, and I mean, just talking about the elephant in the room about, is AI going to take away our jobs, and is everything going to go to hell, and, is robots going to take over? The data is not showing that, but yes, it is showing that it's the people with the right skills who will be able to keep the jobs. So get reskilled, get upskilled, do whatever, but stay relevant, because the jobs will change. You no longer have typists in organization. There is a reason for that. But have people stopped writing letters? No, you type them out now, you send emails, so you don't need a stenographer. But there have been other jobs that have come up that take advantage of that. You got digital photography. It didn't mean the photographers went out and completely lost their jobs. They all became digital photographers, and then they became content creators, because that digital content that they created suddenly had so many versatile uses that probably traditional photos couldn't have. So I think that's one big message that I would convey. And any last comments from, yes, Madhuri, you raised your hand.
Yeah, just to add to what Indrani and Dr. Abhilasha was saying, this idea of encouraging people to learn on their own and all, what I feel, and also we from NS and what we have been talking about much is, there is something like extrinsic external motivation, I would say, like Dr. Abhilasha was saying, there are incentives to learn, to take courses and all. To add to that, one more perspective would be encourage them to make it intrinsic also, where, tell them, hey, look, today the world has changed, your resume won't help, so create a portfolio and build that portfolio, enhance it, show it to the world. So I think a lot of digital adoption, like say the badges, the certificates they create, they can beautify it and put it up. It's not just on LinkedIn, but then there can be places where perhaps FutureSkills Prime also can give some space for creating portfolios, because all learning is now digital. So digital plus non-digital, or they do an innovative project, or they do something in the social sector, or they do something. So the entire learning culture gets built from the other side also, because I feel as people, maybe the culture in India or whatever, there could be few reasons there. We are not very open to these things. We feel career is still, okay, start, then you retire at 60, then you enjoy life. No, that's all changed long back. But how many of them are really taking it, and understanding it is what I feel. So I thought I would convey this.
I mean, thanks for that, because we actually on FutureSkills Prime, funnily, we do have something called a skills passport. And the thought behind the skills passport was that, can the learner have a portfolio of their skills where they can showcase what all they've learned, whether it's a badge. We brought on this idea of informal learning. I think more and more, if you think about how learning is actually happening, it is informal. You go and you take it in consumable bites. You learn what you want at that point in time. And there are resources available to that. So short-term training is really becoming, extra short-term training. And sometimes it's probably more effective because it's on the job, in the moment, what you need to learn. So that's a great idea, and a good plug for FutureSkills Prime to say, go enhance your skills passport. Any closing remarks from you, Indrani?
No, I think I'll just add that even ChatGPT will help you to enhance the learning cycle, because sometimes when I don't know something, I just type it to ChatGPT. It gives me 4 different resources and I'm like, oh, wow, it has made my life so simple. But I still have to read that. I mean, nobody is going to make you drink the water, but it has actually brought me to the well. So that will never go.
Great point. Abhilasha?
I'll just say, let's make it a skilltainment. Let's make some entertainment to the skills, and not only skills. And I think then only, and I normally repeat this point, that when we talking about skill India, so it should be will India rather than skill India. And until as the will comes from the person who wants to learn, we cannot make a skill India. So let's make it will India, that India wants to be skilled. So I think that is the closing remarks from my
Love
end.
that. What a great closure to this session. Thank you so much. And I just want to highlight, folks, this is an all-women panel, completely intentional. We wanted to highlight women power, and I think we've done that really well. So thank you very much, Indrani, Madhuri, and Abhilasha. Lovely.
Thank you, Kirti. Thanks for being such a wonderful host.
Thank you.
Thank
Yes,
you.
kudos to Team Digital India. Great, guys.
Thank you. Thank you so much to all the panelists. Let me reiterate what one of the attendees has just messaged that, this is one of the most electrifying and interesting sessions that we've had so far. Thank you so much for your inputs. It was lovely having you all. And I will be sharing the YouTube link with you all. You can share it in your social media networks. And we'll also be sharing a report on the session, which you can also share in your social media sessions. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you all.
Definitely. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye-bye, everyone.